Hey everyone, Jim Coventry here. Happy Football Sunday, week 2. We are ready to have some fun here. Trying to get something off the screen here so I can work with you guys. Happy to see those who are coming in here. And I'm just trying to remove something here from... All right, if you have any questions, go ahead and fire them away. Again, happy Football Sunday. I am just trying to get this thing off so I can see your comments, and it doesn't want to go away on me. That's weird. Private chat. There you go. Perfecto. All right, as soon as somebody's here, just type something so I know people are here. Again, just starting up here, and see if I get this streamed out to everybody here. Tweet this out again. Again, morning, Football Sunday. Anybody who's here, go ahead and send some questions off. Hoping to see some questions. Let me just have hello in here. Let's see. All right, it shows up in the chat. All right, good. I got 21 viewers here. I just got to somebody type something in the comments so I can. There you go. Perfect. All right, Ken, can't decide on your flex. Full PPR. I can click this on the screen here. Perfect. All right, you got Deebo Samuel, Miles Sanders, Julio Jones. Well, that's a good problem to have. So Julio was struggling to get separation last week. I was a little bit concerned with that, but he has an easy match. I was talking to Mario Puig on the show yesterday. He'll likely have a 5'9" corner on him, so he should be in great shape. Miles Sanders did look very good last week. The matchup's not overwhelming. He did have a decent snap share in the mid 60% range, and of course, Deebo went nuclear. So I think in this game, though, Deebo's going to continue to see some usage there. I think really with target-wise in your full PPR, Deebo is your highest floor play, but he's not probably going to have the type of nuclear performance you did because George Kittle will be involved. Maybe Ayuk gets back in. So if you're shooting for the ceiling here, Julio Jones is the ceiling. This game could be a very, very high-scoring game. So I think Sanders will a good play. I think he's the one I'm going to move out here because he could be game scripted in a situation where he's not getting as much work. So again, Deebo for floor, Julio for ceiling. Next question, Hayes Moore, need 3 half PPR. T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, Corey Davis. Good problem to have. I'm going to rule lower on Corey Davis first, and here's why. Bill Belichick is facing a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson, and we know one thing. He will definitely confuse the rookie and take away his best option, and that's going to be Corey Davis. So I think Davis is in for a little lower game here. Now, Mike Williams is facing Dallas, and we got to love that. Even if Trevon Diggs, who's playing great at corner, is on him, they'll move him around enough where don't think it'll be full-time, and Mike Williams in a high-scoring game looks good. Deontay Johnson, really with the targets he sees, it's almost impossible to look away from him. And then T. Higgins, in my mind, is a superstar. He left last week's game with leg cramping due to the heat. He played about 74% of the snaps because of that. But the Bears are nothing scary on defense. Devontae Smith, I like what he did last week. He had a cake matchup, took advantage of it, did what he's supposed to do. He looks like he's really good at route running, which has been very nice at the NFL level to see him separate. But I think at the end of the day, San Francisco, although they don't really have corners, everybody's hurt, I think at the end of the day, they're going to pressure a bit more on Jalen Hurts. And I think that I'm going to go with Deontay, T, and Mike Williams. Good luck in that one. Scott, you need, all right, let's see here. Scott Lynn, you need a flex. Gaskin, Sutton, or Myers. So Myers saw 9 targets last week, and I think he is like the focal point of the passing attack. And so I think he gives such an amazing floor. I think that's just a great play to have in the lineup. Gaskin only played about 54% of the snaps, and I didn't like that because he is very good when he's given that 3-down roll. But we saw that both other running backs were involved, so that makes me a little nervous. Cortland Sutton only had a few targets last week. I think that goes up this week with Jerry Jeudy out. But I think at the end of the day, Myers has that floor, and I think he has requisite ceiling because he's catching 8 passes, and the Jets are not good on defense. So I think Myers, Sutton, could have upside, but I think Myers has equal upside. So I think Myers is like the winner across the board here. All right, let's see here. Next question. Brantolum. If I said it wrong, sorry. Robinson or Landry. All right, so I get it. OBJ's out, so Landry will get extra targets. But that said, they're playing the Texans this week, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball and control the game. They may not throw much at all. They might throw it about 20 times in this game. Robinson saw 11 targets last week. He had a lot of Jalen Ramsey last week. Allen Robinson should go absolutely off. Cornerback Trey Waynes is out, and the cornerbacks aren't really that good in Cincy. William Jackson's now in Washington. So I think Allen Robinson is like 95% on that one. Mitch, good to see you, man. Mitch and I have a team in the pros with Joe's this year. I like the squad we have. Mitch, dilemma 2 PPR leagues. Mike Davis or Tim Patrick. Yeah. So look, Davis, even in a blowout loss last week, got volume. And I think there's a lot to be said for volume, and especially when you're talking flex. So in the flex position, you have that opportunity where you're going to have those points that are going to be scored. So I think you kind of need to go with that framework on it. And so I think Tim Patrick, we don't know what we're going to get out of him. He is going to be involved. Jerry Jeudy's out, but I still think that Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton are really the 1-2 punch in the offense right now. And I think Patrick will be real hit and miss. Patrick's not, he's good on many routes, but he's a great deep receiver. And so I think maybe with Teddy, that doesn't match up so well. So I'm going to go with Mike Davis there. Mitch. All right. Yep. Hi. Thanks. Alfonso, let's see. Mike Davis or Ronald Jones, 16 into. So this is interesting because Ronald Jones gets benched last week for the fumble, and that's typical Bruce Arians. If you do something wrong, blow a pass block, fumble the ball, he'll take you out for the rest of the game, unless your name's Tom Brady or Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. But the running backs he'll do that with. Jones should be back into full graces this week, but he's still in a timeshare. Regardless, Fournette is earning the trust as time goes on, playoffs, league week 1, and Gio Bernard's going to be involved in third down. The one thing we know about Mike Davis is he'll be on the field, and then there's a lot to be said for that. So I think Davis is much safer. Now, in terms of upside, I think Jones has more because if Jones has something to prove this week, he definitely could break off long runs, so I could totally see that happening. So I think you can consider that, but I think Mike Davis is much safer. But if you need a big game out of your running back, then Jones may have the better chance of doing that. But Davis is more likely to get you 10 points. Jones could get you a 3 or a 4. So I think at the end of the day, I think you go for that safety there. All right, let's see what we got next here. Ethan, all right, you see. Choose 2, AB, Jamar Chase, Drake, and Parker. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. AB played about 67% of the snaps, I think, last week. Give or take, it's close. I don't remember the exact number. But when he gets out there, he gets targets. So that's a good thing. So he sees work. And Brady, he likes to throw the ball his way. Jamar Chase had a great first game to his career, and he does face a Bears secondary that doesn't really have much resistance. Jalen Johnson's good, but I don't know how much. Chase will move around, so I don't think he'll see a ton of him. I think he'll be, some, but not much. Drake's in an interesting spot because Jacobs is out, and I know the talk about Peyton Barber. Really don't care about Peyton Barber, but Drake will get more work. But I think at the end of the day, the Steelers are pretty nasty on defense. The Raiders are down both guards. That's a real problem for them. So I think getting production out of the run game, even as a receiver for Drake's going to be tough. And Devontae Parker, again, I just think that Tua's a bad fit for him. Tua won't fit the ball into the tight windows. So I'm going to say AB and Jamar Chase. If you got a gut feel on Parker, then I would sit him over Chase, but that's the way I'd go. And Scott, all right. Hey, Scott, Julio or Jamal Williams? Jamal Williams had the numbers last week, but Detroit played 92 offensive snaps. And the odds of that, they're probably more likely to play 60 snaps in a game. Crazy game. Julio has like a 5'9" corner on him. He wasn't separating last week, but he won't have to separate this week. I think they try to get him involved. So I think Julio has the more upside here. Jamal Williams is going to get a base of points here, but I think that it's not really conducive because the power running could beat the Packers up, but I don't think Detroit, even though they're good line, I don't think their running backs are conducive to power running against them. So I think Julio's the play here this week. And again, remember that 92 snaps really inflated numbers for those Lions players last week. Alfonso, Mike Davis, or Latavius Murray. Murray's Devontae Freeman's in the mix now too. And Tyson Williams got largely benched a lot in the second half because he blew a pass block. I think that was part of it. But Mike Davis is safer. I don't like Mike Davis. I think he's a replacement football player level, but I think Davis is going to get you more floor. But I think Murray could be used the goal line. And now how much did he get the goal line against the Chiefs? Hard to say. The game may force him to pass more. I think Davis is safer. I think Murray's more likely to get you 15 points. Davis is more likely to get you at 7 to 10. Murray could crap out and have a lower game. So I think at the end of the day, you say if you want Davis, if you need like 15 points, I think Murray has a better chance of hitting that. All right, let's see what we got next here. Fantasy Fanatics, James Conner, Tony Jones, or Roundtree. You know what? James Conner really isn't gross. And last week, I just think he got out the block slow. They face a lot of light boxes because of the personnel sets they run in Arizona, but they didn't run a lot of high receiver sets last week because they were winning in a blowout fashion. So therefore, when their game script is normal, they're going to run 4 receivers and 3 receivers, but a lot of 4, and that's going to open up the middle for Conner, which it didn't last week. Conner's 233 pounds, had a 95th percentile broken tackle rate last year. I like James Conner here. He's going to have opportunity. Tony Jones is a nice player to have too. I think he's going to do good things. I think James Conner, if they get near the goal line, I think they will use him there, and he has a better chance of the 3 of punching in a touchdown. So I would definitely go with James Conner there. Mitch, see what else we got here. You have others? Yeah, for sure. Joe, Mitchell, Tyson. You know what? Eli Mitchell, in my mind, I was heavily invested in before the NFL draft and pre-draft leagues. He has 90th percentile speed, over 90th percentile explosiveness, and he's a perfect fit for Shanahan's system. This when he got picked by him in the 6th round, I got a little nervous because they drafted Sermon ahead of him. But once I knew Mitchell would get a chance somewhere, Mitchell to me is the best running back in the class. And I don't care who else. I'm Najee Harris. I don't even care. Mitchell is an amazing talent. He's in the right system. Let's just say Mitchell in a one-cut system is the best running back in the class. Mitchell to me is a slam dunk. Tyson got benched for missing a pass block, and he had 3 running backs in that mix. Now Tyson's window, last week was it, and I think now he's going to get some touches, but not much. Drake, I just worry because both offensive guards are out for the Raiders, and that's problematic. So to me, it's Mitchell easily. You're welcome, Alfonso. And Johnny's back. All right. Brandon Cooks, you know what? To me, Brandon Cooks is a wide receiver 2 minimum all season. Every week he gets volume. He runs every route. He ran 43 snaps out of the slot last week, gets him away from the outside coverage as well. They're deploying him smartly. To me, Brandon Cooks is like an every week automatic start because when they get him in the slot, you can't even put your top corners on him. But his route running is great. He gets open very easily. So I definitely go to Chase Claypool. Ben can't throw it outfield, so the best part of Claypool gets taken away. And then Corey Davis, they've got the Patriots, and I think the Patriots are going to take him away, and also they're going to confuse the heck out of Zach Wilson. So Cook's pretty easy for me here. All right, see what we got next here. John Fella, Njoku or Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson played 19% of the snaps last week. He got the 2 touchdowns, so that was so we see the box score, like, oh my God, we hit the jackpot. But and I'm glad to see you here too, John. So Juwan Johnson, I think that was really very fortunate flash in the pan thing. Now Njoku's Njoku too, right? But the one thing I do like is the Browns ran a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets last week, and this week playing the Texans, they're going to have a lead probably most of the game. So I think Njoku's in good shape here. So yeah, I'm going to say, this is tough, but because Juwan Johnson is talented, but I'm going to say Njoku, but it's like 55 to 45%. If you have a gut feel, go with it, because that ultimately with this decision is what's going to happen for you. Gut decision, gut call for you. Shake my head, estimation. This is your initials. I like that. Rojo or James Robinson. Yeah, no doubt. So I mentioned earlier in the show, Rojo got benched last week because of a fumble, and that's typical Bruce Arians. He should be back into good graces because Bruce Arians is that as well. He definitely is happy to put the guy back in the lineup and give him a chance. But now we have the problem of Leonard Fournette is becoming dependable, and Gio Bernard is the passing down back. He's even playing coming off a high ankle last week. So I think James Robinson is more likely to see a high number of touches. And I know that Carlos Hyde, as I said last week, I was very worried that Carlos Hyde would get usage, but I think ultimately James Robinson is safer. They have equivalent ceilings, so the floor is much higher for Robinson. So I would say you have to go that way. Scott, all right, DJ Chark. Oh, hold on, it's not showing up on here yet. Hang on. Why is it not showing here? There it is. It moved down on me. Tricky screen. All right. Chark, Melvin Gordon, or Jamal Williams need one in PPR. Well, you probably heard me say a few minutes ago, Jamal Williams, I do like him. I think he's in a good spot in Detroit. But a lot of us are going to get swayed by that, not realizing they ran 92 plays last week, typical 65, 60 plays. So that huge volume just really played off well for them. Now, he could still be involved this week. Gordon runs really well behind that Denver offensive line, and that line really improved. Mike Munchak coaching him up there, but he split the snaps equally with Javonte Williams. So Gordon had that big run that really made his day. Now, DJ Chark, it's an interesting game here. They're playing Denver, and Denver's really got corners. They're going to confuse the heck out of Trevor Lawrence. I love DJ Chark this year, all year. Denver matchup is really scary for me because a rookie quarterback against a Vic Fangio defense makes me nervous. That said, of the 3, Chark has the most upside. He's the one because he can get over the top of a defense. He is more physically talented than the good, very good cornerbacks he's going to face. So Chark has the upside, but ultimately, I think Melvin Gordon in a game that I expect Denver to control here. Gordon has the highest floor. He doesn't catch the passes as much, but I think Jamal Williams, again, I think it's going to be a little more DeAndre Swift game, but Williams will be in the game. So Upside Chark. I'm gonna hedge on this one again with the PPR. That's gonna may change a little bit because Gordon's not catching a lot of passes. Let me waffle on this one and say with the PPR, Jamal Williams would be your floor guy. Chark could be your ceiling guy, and I think Gordon, because he's not going to catch as many passes, that's going to be a little problematic. So I'm hedging, but that's my call on that. All right, Ethan. A, B, and Chase. Yeah, that's a great call, Ethan. I think that totally works well for you. Probability is with you. And that's all we do. We're trying to set probability. We're looking at matchups. We're looking at injuries. We're looking at potential game flow. And we're doing these probability calls, knowing that sometimes the probability isn't going to hit. But we stick with that probability and think we're right more than we're wrong. And that's what we have to lean for. Top in the bust. All right. Hey, who you start out of these three? A, B, Chris Godwin. All right. Honestly, to me, Chris Godwin is an elite NFL receiver. He's one of probably the 10 best receivers in the entire NFL. And he saw like 14 targets last week. And Tom Brady always loves a slot guy. Now, Godwin will play outside some, but he easily, I don't have the number. I have the numbers here, but I can see if I can find it quickly for you. But the slot snaps were super heavy. I'm trying to get this right now because they're at the end of the list because Buccaneers are now. There we go. So Chris Godwin saw 47 slot snaps last week, which is huge, and Brady loves that slot. Now, I know Deebo Samuel has equal upside because they use him so well in that offense, but I think Kittle's get more involved this week, and I don't know if Brandon Ayuk's out of the doghouse, but that would potentially be problematic. So to me, it's going to be Chris Godwin. And I know Brown plays far less than Godwin too. The snaps last week, 65% for Brown, 98% for Godwin. So I think Godwin is your floor and ceiling play here. I do like Deebo, but you're starting one. To me, it's always going to be Chris Godwin. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I got a bunch of questions piling up. Let's see where I'm at. Oh, here we go. Perfect. All right. If I ever miss your question, just check back in the let me know. All right, we got Jose. One of these three, Patrick Hamler or Damian Harris. You know, Harris fumbled last week, and I know that Bill Belichick doesn't like that. I just don't think he has other running backs to put in there. They're playing the Jets this week. They should play with the lead in the Jets. Quinnen Williams on the inside makes them a little bit tough on the run, but the Patriots are going to put in heavy personnel. They can run against good run defenses. I think Harris is your floor guy. You're going to get a good floor, and he actually saw some targets last week, which I think that was problematic, and I'm going to double check that actually, see if I can quickly scroll back through to see what his targets were, because I know he got targets last week, but I don't want to say that and be wrong. So, yeah, Harris saw 3 targets last week. And to me, that adds to his floor, which is a great thing. So, to me, take the running back. He's safer. Patrick and Hamler are both going to be, fighting for targets because Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton, even though Sutton didn't see much last week, those two should dominate the targets. And there's also a world where the Broncos run heavily this week and they don't need to throw a lot. So, yeah, Damian Harris, give me him on that one. Mitch is back. All right. For our team. That's awesome. Van Jefferson, I liked last week, but they only threw 26 passes, so he could have had a better game. But throwing 26 passes and 10 of them to Cooper Kupp, there wasn't a lot left to go around. Now Jefferson got the touchdown, so I think that was very promising. I think he's a big part of this offense, and that's important. I want to double check one thing as I'm talking here. And the Colts, they played at too high shell, but I think with Xavier Rhodes, the corner out, they're very weak at corner right now. And so I think they're very vulnerable. And I think they can slow down the rushing attack. So I think they're going to be a little bit more pass heavy today. So I like Jefferson. Now I like KJ Osborne too, because basically they're running him both as the slot and the Irv Smith role. So he got 9 targets last week. And to me, that wasn't a fluke. However, they're playing Arizona, and Arizona is not good at cornerback on the outside, but they are solid in the slot. And Osborne was the heavy slot receiver last week. So he has the toughest matchup. So I think probability lies with Van Jefferson. I didn't like that Gerald Everett was sharing snaps with Will Dissly. They both were involved, and Everett got the touchdown, but not a lot of targets. And matter of fact, Mitch, we may look this week to replace Everett out on the free agency wire. If there's something on the wire today, why don't you look it up and see if there's somebody there? And if there is, let me know. I'll be off the show, and we can definitely run a text by each other. But we may want to consider should we get another receiver in there, because again, I'm concerned now because Dissly apparently for some stupid reason is a thing. But I'm going to say Van Jefferson there. All right, Fantasy Fanatics, Drake, Gaskin, Sutton, Hines, Robinson, pick 3. Okay. Nyheim Hines is likely to see some passing game usage today because I do think that Indy's going to trail. They're Braden Smith, their right tackle's out. They do get Eric Fisher back, but the line is not healthy right now. The left, with that one, and then Quentin Nelson's still not 100%. So I think they're ultimately going to have to dump the ball off in the game. They're trying. Sorry, my nose is itching. I apologize for that. So I do like Hines here. Robinson, even though he split work with sorry, I'm itching. Robinson, he's split work with Hyde, but he still got quite a bit of the snap share. So I think he's going to be okay here. He's going to see some receptions as well. And I think that helps in the half PPR. And then of the last three, Drake worries me because both offensive guards are out for the Raiders. And I know he pass catches, but I still think at the end of the day, they're going to have a problem on offense moving the ball. Gaskin only played 54% of the snaps last week, and I need to see that higher because he shouldn't be losing touches to Malcolm Brown and Salvin Ahmed, but he is. And then Sutton, I do think he morphs into a more large role with Jerry Jeudy out and got, 3 targets last week, but he should see significantly more. So I do like Sutton, Hines, and James Robinson here. I think Gaskin is a better player than a lot of them, but I don't think he's getting enough work to justify it right now. So that's where I think probability lies for you. Jose, PPR League, and you have to retype a question because hopefully it's beneath because I'm not going to know where to go. I got a lot of scrolling here. Soldier 2006. Tyson Williams, James Robinson, and then Kyle Pitts or Robert Tonyan. So Tyson Williams basically would look like he was largely benched in the second half. He blew a pass block, and I think they didn't think that worked out because I think it led to a Lamar Jackson fumble, actually. So that was a big problem for them. So that was what we didn't like to see. So I think Tyson Williams now is in a 3-man rotation. They even brought in Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray. So I think he's going to be odd man out. That veteran experience in front of him is going to probably make Coach Harbaugh happier. So give me Robinson there. At tight end, you know what? Tonyan, he was super efficient last year. He was like less than 60, was it like less than 60 targets, I think, but he caught like 52 of them, 11 touchdowns. He was just so hyper efficient. And to bet on that is always tough. Whereas Pitt saw 8 targets last week. So I think if you're going to give me the guy with 8 targets and the guy who projects to be a much better, one of the best physical profiles at tight end, I just think you got to roll with Pitts in those 8 targets. Tonyan, I don't think could touch him in terms of targets. And, they're playing Tampa, Atlanta is, and Pitts has to see at least 8 targets again, right? So, yeah, I think you got to roll that way. Raul Vista, Claypool or Robbie Anderson. So, I love Claypool as a player. I think he's going to be a superstar in the league. But the problem that we have is just Ben can't throw downfield anymore. And, he'll get him short a couple times, and that's good. But that doesn't unlock Claypool's skill set. So that worries me until we see something otherwise. At least Robbie Anderson, he only saw 3 targets last week. Now he got lucky that one of them was a long touchdown. But ultimately, Robbie Anderson's a full-time player. He and DJ Moore are playing full-time. And, the probability of them being on the field, that is something that we see in the past. Targets should be there. I want to look up one more thing while I'm talking to you here. I'm trying to look up one last thing here. Trying to see if I got anything on the cornerback matchup, but I think Robbie Anderson is safer, and I think ultimately that's where you might want to lie with that. So that's what I would recommend there because again, you got to see Claypool get a lot of targets to think I'm going to like him there. Ayuk, Marvin Jones, Drake, or Tyson. I mentioned, you probably heard me, Joe, say a little earlier, Tyson Williams. He just got kind of benched for the most part after missing a pass block and causing a Lamar fumble. I think that he's going to be now on the left side of that 3-man timeshare. Kenyon Drake, Raiders are without both starting guards, and I know he does a lot of damage as a receiver. That helps him a little bit, but Pittsburgh's pretty nasty on defense. Marvin Jones doesn't have a great matchup. They're playing Denver, and Denver has great corners and great pass rush. Brandon Ayuk, we just don't know what Coach Shanahan's doing. He saw something he didn't like in practice, basically benched Ayuk for half a game. Ayuk didn't see a single target. We don't know what we're getting out of him. Of those 4 players, though, Drake, because he does project to see targets, Josh Jacobs is out. So I think ultimately Drake probably has the best floor of those 4 players. If you're swinging for upside, you're a big underdog. I think the upside play is Ayuk because if he gets in, he's going to have something to prove. Shanahan probably gives him a chance to get back at it, but that's speculation. He may not see work again, and that's what makes him a boom bust option. So I think the safest play this week is Drake. All right. And again, I don't like it all. Let's see here. Oh, did I just lose something here? I'm trying to see where. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. All right, Johnny. Trevor Lawrence or Jameis Winston? I'm worried about Trevor Lawrence this week. Now, he made some great high-level throws last week. The reason he was number 1 overall pick, but he made a lot of mistakes. Well, Vic Fangio is not going to make that any better this week. Vic Fangio is going to show him looks pre-snap, and as soon as the ball snapped, that look is going to change, and Lawrence is going to know what the heck is going on. So, and I think Denver wants to play at lower scoring. I think Denver is going to be able to run the ball, keep control, but I don't think they're going to be, they could roll out to a 21-point lead and force him to throw every down, but then Lawrence is still in trouble there, especially if you penalize for interceptions. Jameis, however, he hardly threw last week, but he got 5 touchdowns. So obviously that was something up there. But we know New Orleans, they want to run the ball. And, you know what? I understand this too. Taysom was in a goal line package. So there is a world where Taysom is playing when they get in the red zone. So this is a real tough call. But I think Winston has a lot of downside because if they run the ball and they're only going to have him throw it X amount of times, well, that doesn't bode well. Carolina's not great on defense. A.J. Bouye, the corner, is suspended for another game. So overall, I think this is a tough call. I think I don't like Lawrence's matchup, but he's going to have to throw in the second half. Regardless, they're going to be trailing. Winston may not have to throw because they may be winning this game. It's 51-49, Trevor Lawrence. It's that close. If you got a gut feel, go with it. But, Johnny, there's no definitive one on this one. Lawrence will throw more. If that helps, that may be it. He's going to throw more than Winston will, I think, in this game. Jose, Hines, Sermon, or Gesicki, PPR flex. You know what? The fact that Sermon was inactive last week, he wasn't one of the top 3 running backs, that tells me JaMychal Hasty could be ahead of him in Kyle Shanahan's mind. I don't know if it's motivational tactics, and we won't know that either until we see Sermon's involvement in the game. Gesicki played a ridiculously low, I'm going to look it up for you. He played 39% of the snaps last week. 2 targets, that doesn't cut it. So right now, until we see Mike Gesicki's usage go up, and that was without Will Fuller, who won't be there again, 39% there. So that's very concerning to me. So I think we're going to go Nyheim Hines. I think that they're going to be trailing the Rams. They're going to have to dump the ball off, and I think he is going to be the guy that's going to get you 4 to 6 catches in this game. I don't think we could trust Sermon yet, and I totally don't think we could trust Gesicki. That was very laughable usage he had last week, unfortunately. Good question. They all are good questions. Damian Harris or Mitchell. All right, Tom. So, look, Mitchell, in my mind, he was an elite prospect coming in. He's over 90th percentile speed and explosiveness. He was a perfect fit for the scheme, but I drafted some shares in bigger leagues hoping he'd get in, and then in shorter leagues you couldn't because he was a 3rd string running back. But now that he's in, and the pregame buzz from the beat writers is that Mitchell is the guy this week. I think in that offense with his skill set, I think his floor and upside are absolutely amazing. Now Harris has good floor as well, even though he fumbled last week. They're playing the Jets, and they should be in good shape. Quinnen Williams is tough against the run, keeps the Jets a little bit stout there, but I still think at the end of the day, the run scheme is so good in New England. Harris is going to do damage or probably some goal line carries. So, I mean, they both have good floor, but Mitchell has outrageous ceiling because of that system and his abilities. So I'm going to roll with Eli Mitchell here. All right. Daggers, it looks like. Tyson Williams or James. Oh, that's a good one to have. All right. So with New England playing the Jets this week, I think the probability is they control the game because I don't think Zach Wilson's going to have much of a chance against the Bill Belichick defense to get them out to a lead. So I think James White's going to be game scripted out of this one. I don't think they're going to need the receiving back. So I think they're going to be able to run a bit more, and they might be able to use Hunter Henry in the passing game a bit more. Now, that said, Tyson Williams is problematic because, again, he blew that pass block leading to Lamar Jackson fumble. We saw in the second half he was hardly a thing. And now Devontae Freeman's in the mix as well. So it's 2 difficult situations. But, Williams, I mean, he's not getting necessarily a goal line where you put Latavius Murray in the goal. So both are tough options. I mean, James White, maybe, but I can't even endorse either of them, guys. But you got to start one of them. Check your waiver wire for something else. But White could catch 2 or 3 passes, and that might be enough. But I don't even know what Tyson Williams is going to get. He had 9 carries last week, and he did well in the first half, but it was only 9 carries. He got targets, but in that offense, we can't count on targets to the running backs because it's rare that Lamar throws those. And again, now it might be Devontae Freeman catching those. If they're going to throw, he's washed, but he's a receiving back. So, yeah, it's a tough spot for you, but I'd probably have to say James White. But, I can see why you're sending me this question. It's a tough one. Ken, of course, you're very welcome, man. I just want answers. That's funny. Pick one, Gaskin or so. I didn't like that 54% snap rate for Gaskin last week. I believe when he's full-time player, he's a great fantasy asset. But, man, splitting work with Salvon Ahmed and Malcolm Brown, that's tough. That's real tough. And Kenyon Drake, like I said, I don't like the matchup. Pittsburgh's defense is nasty. The Raiders are without both offensive guards, but they probably trail. They probably got to throw the ball. And if the pressure's coming, the dump off to Drake could be a big deal here. So I think this is a game where Drake could catch a significant number of passes. And the playing time, I'm like, that stuff about I think of his name, Peyton Barber. I can't see Peyton Barber taking that many snaps. So Kenny Drake's got to be the player. He'll see more playing time and probably more useful as a receiver this week. Scott's back. All right. Julio or Juju in the PPR. Well, I tell you this, Juju is pretty safe. Juju, he lined up in the slot like primarily last week, not unexpected. I'm going to look at his numbers here real quick. I had a snapshot on here. Yeah, he played 44 snaps in the slot. The next best was 16 for Chase Claypool. So we know he had 91% snap share last week, 8 targets, only caught 4 of them. But, I mean, I think Juju is your safe play, but I think Julio's your upside guy. And like I said earlier, Julio's going to face some pretty ridiculously bad corners this week. The game is likely high scoring, and there's a good chance you're going to have to throw the ball in. I think that's the one place that Seattle can't defend is against the pass. They're pretty good against the run, and so I think they're going to have to throw a bit. So I think it's going to be, if you want that solid floor PPR, you want those 10 points bankable, I think that's Juju. But if you want a chance at 25, that's going to be Julio. Like I said, I am a little concerned about his physical state coming in, but you drafted him, you believe in him to a degree, and so I think, that upside play is Julio. So you got to look at your matchup. If you're a favorite, then Juju maybe, but if you're, you got to shoot for the moon a little bit, then I think it's got to be Julio. All right. Harris. All right, so Jose, you may have to repost the whole question. Oh, I can still see it on my screen. Yeah, your question is probably so far up my screen. So I'll tell you about Deontay Harris. Deontay Harris didn't play a lot of snaps last week. He came through with that long touchdown, which was a great thing for him. But Deontay Harris played 44% of snaps. It wasn't bad. He saw 2 targets, and one of them, was the long touchdown, so that worked out. But so overall, they're playing Carolina. If they can run the ball, they will. He's not a featured heavy part of the offense, but they only threw a small amount of passes last week. So we got to kind of factor that in as well. So Jameis threw 21 passes. So it's this low volume passing attack. So Harris concerns me. Yeah, Harris concerns me. But whatever your other options are, kind of work with that. No worries, Jose. No worries at all. No worries. Johnny, any prop bets? You know what? So here's what I decided to do. On Browns and Bucks. So I've determined, I thought the best use of my football knowledge, my injury knowledge, depth chart knowledge, and game flow thing is to do individual team totals. Of those, I hit 2 out of 3 last week. That's so no big deal. It could have been 1 and 2 just the same. But I decided that's probably my lane right now because the whole game, the over total for both teams, that requires a lot of luck, a lot more luck factors. So these are the teams that I am. Let me see if I can post them in here for you. I can probably post these. I can copy and paste these. Put these in here, copy them, paste them into here. And I did a stream yesterday going over the rationale for these. Let's see. I think it's going through. The Bengals over 21.5 points. The Chiefs over 20. Did it take? Let's see. Yeah, it didn't let me do it. It said my comment was filtered, so I don't know. All right, weird enough. But it took on the YouTube page. Cincinnati team total over 21.5. Chiefs team total over 29.5. The Ravens under 24.5. The Raiders team under 19.5. Jaguars. And I posted on my Twitter page. I think these should be on my Twitter page. If not, I'll make sure those get up on there. Check my Twitter page. I did put those up on there, though. It's a great question. All right, let's see what we got here. Here we go, back here. Kavan, all right, good to see you, man. Troy got a question here. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Full PPR. You got Tyson, Visca, or Corey Davis. Yeah, you're right. New England is a tough matchup. And the thing they're going to do is Zach Wilson is going to see things he never could imagine seeing. He's going to have some tough sight lines there. Bill Belichick scheming up. And also, I know that Bill Belichick realizes he looks at Corey Davis first. So they're going to put extra attention on Corey Davis, not just give Zach Wilson the tough look, but then take away his first option and make him go to the second and third option. So that is why Davis is tough. Overall, in a vacuum, Davis would be the best. option. Now, Laviska Shenault, I don't really like the matchup against Denver. However, Viska plays in the slot a lot, and I think those are the looks that Trevor Lawrence is going to have. The outside looks aren't really going to be good for him because Fangio's going to blur those lines of coverage, changing pre-snap to post-snap. And so I think that Lawrence is going to have success. It's going to be getting it out quickly to that guy. It's the huge target Viska that's in front of him. So I think Viska is probably your play here. And I don't think that the Jets are scoring many points in this one. So the probability to me, it's 60% Viska, 40% Corey Davis. I mentioned earlier, Tyson Williams, he basically got benched. He blew a pass block last week. Now Devontae Freeman's in the mix along with Latavius Murray. So I just am very concerned that Coach Harbaugh is going to want the veteran presence there. And so I think Tyson Williams may be short-lived, unfortunately. Good luck with that one. All right, let's see here. Come on. So you've got Fant or Pitt. I love Fant, man. And I think Fant's going to see more targets because Jerry Jeudy's out. I think that's going to bode very well for him in the short term. However, Kyle Pitts is in a matchup where he saw 8 targets last week. I think that was huge. And I think they're going to trail to Tom Brady by significant points. And so I think that 8 targets could become 10 to 12 this week. As much as I love Noah Fant, I think Pitts has a floor because he's going to see opportunities this week. And I don't think Tampa Bay is the type of team that's going to scheme it up to take him out. And they're hurting at corner. Murphy Bunting's out. Now, not because Pitts will detach as a receiver. And I don't know if Tampa wanted to go with the mindset of putting a corner on him. They may or may not have. Carlton Davis was a game time decision, and that hasn't come through yet. If anybody sees important Inactives, post them for me. But so I'm going to say Pitts because I think the game script favors him. I love Noah Fant, though, but it's a good problem to have. Bless you. My daughter sneezed there. All right. So, John, Connor, Sermon, Robinson, Standard League. So I do like Connor. And last week, because they were winning big, they didn't go to their 4 receiver sets. They didn't have to because they were dominating. So Connor wasn't running against the light boxes. He commonly will because when Arizona does it their way, they're running 4 receiver sets frequently. And in this game today, there's a likelihood they're going to do that more. So Connor can do a lot of damage. He had a 95th percentile broken tackle rate last year. He's a 230-pound battering ram in a great situation. Sermon, we have to wait and see how much Coach Shanahan's going to use him. The reports from the beat writers is that Eli Mitchell is the guy. Sermon will be mixed in. So will JaMychal Hasty. We're not even sure Sermon's ahead of Hasty at this point because he wasn't last week for, basically that's why the deactivation of Sermon. James Robinson, yeah, he did split touches with Hyde. Didn't like that at all. He did see good snap share, though. He did see good work, too. So that helped. So I think Robinson's your safest of the 3 because workload is going to be there to a degree. They're going to lose, but he's a receiving back. And I want to tell you what his targets were last week. So that's important to look at, too. So let me take a quick look here. Take me a second to scroll down here. Can't memorize all these snap shares in week 1 sometimes, So Robinson's on 6 targets, and he played 64% snap share. So I think that was about right. And Connor didn't play that. He played less. So I think overall, I think Robinson's really your play here. And Denver's not a great matchup, but those 6 targets and the fact he's used in the receiving game, I think that even though it's standard, the yardage from the reception is going to pile up. And that's what I like. It's obviously you're not getting a point per reception, but you're getting yardage per reception. So I think that's where the difference is. And, Connor is still Edmonds outplayed him, and then Connor got a lot of touches late when the game was out of question. So I'm not sure, much as I love Connor this year, I'm not sure what his role exactly is. And you needed 1. All right, then I think that's the one we're going to go with. I think James Robinson is your best probability call, and I think he has equal upside to the other players. And Fantasy Fanatics, you're very welcome. Jose, you have to play 1 of 3. Okay, so yeah, this is the one we asked earlier. So I think Tim Patrick probably has the most solid role of those 3 players. Yeah, I think because he is going to play more snaps than the 3. He's going to not take all of Jerry Jeudy's snaps, but he's going to play more. KJ Hamler's not a great stylistic fit for Teddy Bridgewater because he has that blazing downfield speed, and so those bombs may not necessarily be there. So I think Tim Patrick is your safest play of those 3, and I think he has equal upside to those. So from a probability standpoint, that's the way I would kind of go with that. All right, let's see here. Soldier, yeah, Detroit defense is in shambles. Yeah, it is. It totally is. Totally is. I don't remember the question from earlier, but yeah, Detroit is not a good defense. I don't have any more questions. Is that going to be it for right now? All right. So I could talk about some of these team totals if people are still around. So if you're playing, this will kind of help with fantasy too. So the Bengals play the Bears this week. The Bears are down interior lineman Eddie Goldman. They are also going to be the defensive secondary is just a mess. They don't have the horses there, and the Bears are missing Danny Trevathan at linebacker. So some of those middle of the field throws that Burrow likes, those are going to be there. So Cincinnati should easily pass that 21.5 total. The Chiefs, love the Chiefs this week. Baltimore's at home, and we know that Baltimore can give the Chiefs fits, but Marcus Peters, the corner, is out. LJ Fort, the inside linebacker, has been on injured reserve. Derek Wolfe, their defensive end, is out, and I think that Baltimore just doesn't have the horses to be able to put up the usual resistance they do to the Chiefs. So the Chiefs should fly over to 30 points. On the other side of the ball, the Ravens team totals 24.5. And I know the Chiefs are not very good defensively, but the Ravens are all kinds of beat up on offense. And I think that they're really discombobulated now. And I don't think they're going to hit that 24 total. They're going to be under that one. And the Raiders under 19.5. To me, the Steelers do play down to opponents at times, but I think that with the Raiders being down both offensive guards, with all their transition in the offseason from losing linemen, I think they're in a bad spot traveling cross country on a short week. Jaguars team total under 19.5. I mentioned earlier, Vic Fangio is going to probably confuse the heck out of Trevor Lawrence, and I think they're going to have a lot of struggles offensively. Let's look at some inactives here while we can see if we can get some inactives right here now, and we can see how that can impact us. We already know Odell Beckham's out. That's we confirmed early in the week, so nothing to add there. We knew Josh Jacobs was out. As we mentioned, both guards for the Raiders are inactive, but that was already pre-reported. Keelan Cole is active for the Patriots. Jamison Crowder is inactive. So, Cole could see some slot snaps there, but, I think Corey Davis is getting taken away. So if you're in a deeper league and you really need a desperation reach for this week, Keelan Cole could be a potential player there. Inactives for Carolina, nothing pressing there. Paris Campbell is inactive for the Colts. Now, we already saw Zach Pascal was seeing 90% snap share last week, but he played primarily in the slot. So I think they will end up moving somebody to the outside, but I think that will not impact Zach Pascal's situation. I want to check Indy's depth chart here. And Michael Strahan is probably going to step into that Paris Campbell role. And so I think at the end of the day, Zach Pascal is still a good play because he's not going to really see much of Jalen Ramsey. So I think he's on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. So I think Zach Pascal is a very, very reasonable play here. So that's something to think about here. So let's see what else we have here with inactives. For the 49ers, Emmanuel Mosley, the corner, was doubtful. So both of their starting corners, because Jason Verrett's on the IR, both of them are out. And now the thing with Philly was throwing like 3.7 yards per depth of target last week. They were just dinking and dunking and getting run after the catch. But so I don't think they're going to challenge him downfield anyway. But this still bodes well for Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor for sure. But in the game, they probably trail some. Now the Bears, let's see if there's anybody inactive here. No. So Jason Peters, the left tackle, is in. They were worried about him missing time, but he's there. His backup is out, but that's nothing else pressing there. We said Eddie Goldman earlier was out. We said Jamison Crowder was out for the Jets. We told you that one a little bit earlier. And Elijah Moore should see targets, but he wasn't very productive with those. Gabriel Davis, who had an ankle injury, was questionable. He is active for this game, and but he plays in those 4 receiver sets. Now they ran at least 3 receivers on every snap last week. Buffalo's insane. Davis was the clear 4th, but he played 53% of the snap, so it's not like he wasn't on the field. So that was interesting there. Let's check for other inactive reports here. I think there's other things coming in. Eagles, a strong safety, Rodney McLeod, is out. And I think that we knew that yesterday. But again, the injuries on the Eagles definitely helped the running game for the 49ers. So that's a positive thing. Marshawn Lattimore is, as we expected, he was listed as a game time decision. He is inactive for the Saints. This is a boost for the Carolina passing attack here. Carolina, I do like Carolina plus the 3 points. The line looks too good to be true, and the Saints are coming off that week 1 surprise blowout of the Packers. I think the injuries they have, they're missing a defensive end, Marcus Davenport. Lattimore's out. Ken Crawley's out. I think this is a team that is going to be exposed a little bit, the passing attack. I know it's Sam Darnold, but they get the ball out quickly. And I think with lack of pass rush, lack of corners, I think it comes to roost this week. Panthers are a really solid play. If I trusted their over team total, I'd go that way, but that's not one of my choices this week. But I do like them plus the 3 points here. I think they can come out and sneakily win this game. Denzel Mims inactive. Justin Fields, per Ian Rappaport, is expected to see increased snaps in week 2 against the Bengals. Well, it's about time. So the Andy Dalton revenge narrative, maybe no bueno there. But Justin Fields needs to be on the field more. We mentioned earlier in the show, Ian Rappaport mentioned Elijah Mitchell is expected to carry the load for the 49ers. So he is at 5,000 at DraftKings. He's going to be chalky, but it may be good chalk because that running scheme, and I know the Eagles are a very good defense against the run, but the way I look at it, that 49, give me the 49ers rushing attack every time here. Let's look at these. Are there any other news pieces here? I'm going to go back to a different feed. Ramondre Stevenson, he fumbled last week, inactive against the Jets. So now that's interesting. Damian Harris will see a ton of work. So his great floor got even higher. Well, it did last week because Stevenson, again, he got the fumble. Now he's in the doghouse. Harris fumbled, but he's probably out of the doghouse because they have more invested in him. They need him more, so that's interesting. So that's important. And maybe in deeper leagues, if you have roster spots, I think Stevenson might be a hold for now because I do think he's going to be a factor as a hammer late in games. But otherwise, if you feel need to drop him at this point, you may be able to do that. We already mentioned Jonnu Smith is active for the Patriots. He and Hunter Henry both played over 70% of the snaps last week. They both will have weeks where they're both involved, so that's important to know. Michael Pittman of the Colts is active this week. However, he could see a lot of Jalen Ramsey being on the outside. And so I would be very concerned, A, that Carson wants to get in the ball, and B, that if he sees Ramsey, that's a problem. So if there's a world where you have Pittman, but you need to consider starting him, you may consider moving him to the bench. Marquise Goodwin, not, for most people, but he is active for the Bears. However, he got the bigger production than Damiere Byrd, but Damiere Byrd played more snaps last week, which that's important to understand. That Goodwin may technically be ahead of Byrd, but Byrd was ahead in playing time, so that's important to know. Good, I got more questions. All right, here we go. Robert, half PPR, Drake or Mike Davis? So the more I think about it, so when I may have had a question similar earlier, but Davis has a better floor. Davis was in and getting used in a blowout loss last week, and that speaks volumes. I think Drake has more upside here, though, because the Raiders are down both offensive guards, and I think ultimately they're going to have to dump the ball off them with that Pittsburgh rush. He's going to create a lot of havoc and pressure. So I think Drake has more upside. I think Davis has more floor. If you need a solid, 8 points, Davis is your guy because Drake could go beneath that. If you need like 14, 15, Drake has a chance to hit that, but Drake also has the low floor. So I think you got to frame it that way on what you need and based on your matchup is. Jose, in your flex, who's the best pick? Hines of Indy, Gesicki, or Sermon? Gesicki played 39% of the snaps last week, saw 2 targets, and so I'm very concerned about his workload, and I forgot to click these on. There you go, Jose. Put your question up on the screen. There you go. And so I think that the Rams are going to trail this week. I think Braden Smith, right tackle, is out. I think the Rams are going to get pressure. Dumping the ball off is going to be helpful. I do think Hines can get 4 to 6 catches this week, with maybe even upside for a little bit more. Sermon, he was the 4th running back this week. He was deactivated. Now he's back. I don't know that he's ahead of JaMychal Hasty. So right now, until I see that things have changed for him, can't endorse him. Now it's possible he comes in and does something and gets the hot hand and goes, yes, it's possible. But I think Hines is your play this week. And Robert, you got Watkins or Tim Patrick? Sammy Watkins revenge game. He's playing the Chiefs. It's funny. Tim Patrick will play a lot more snaps this week because we know that Jerry Jeudy's on the IR. I don't know that I trust Lamar Jackson throwing the ball much. And Steve Spagnuolo is good against receivers. Believe it or not, that Chiefs defense, as much as they give up, they don't give up fantasy production to receivers very frequently. I don't know how that happens, but they do. So I'm going to say Tim Patrick's probably your play here, Robert. All right, we got our next one up here. Let's see. James Robinson, Melvin Gordon, or Chark. Don't necessarily like Chark's matchup this week. The Denver defense, Vic Fangio, is going to really make it tough on the rookie Trevor Lawrence. He's going to see things he never imagined before, and it's going to be very problematic for him. Now, Chark has upside because he can get behind a defense and make a big play. So of the 3, he has the most upside. But I think the floor play this week is James Robinson because he had 6 targets last week. He played 64% of the snaps. Carlos Hyde was in a lot. But you're going to tell me a running back is, going to get continue to see good targets. And see, I think that Trevor Lawrence, he's going to see so many ghosts in the secondary. I think dumping the ball off to the running backs is probably going to be where he has to find it. Laviska Shenault in the slot, Robinson out of the backfield. I think those are going to be reliable staples. Now, Melvin Gordon split the snaps equally with Javonte Williams. He had a long run late in the game to give him some really nice, solid numbers, and he is a very good back, and he's going to see work here. So, I mean, but Gordon isn't going to see a lot of targets. I think Robinson rates the edge of the floor because of the passing game usage. All three are good plays, but I think Chark has the most upside. I think Robinson has the floor, but you can't go wrong with any. If you have a gut feel, definitely go with it, but they all make sense. Is Sony Michel worth a roster spot? So Sean McVay said that Michel's going to get more involved. Well, you have to get more than one carry. I guess it's easy to get more involved. That said, it's tough, man. It's tough because what we saw is what we saw. Darrell Henderson, guys but Henderson's small. Henderson can easily get hurt. So unless there's a player that you have immediate use for in the waiver wire, then you make the consideration. If you don't have that move, you hold Michel another week and see what happens. Tom, man, thank you. I appreciate that nice comment. Very much appreciate it. Scott, Jamal Williams, or Landry. I don't know how much the Browns are going to pass, but Odell's out. So Landry, I mean, should see 6 targets in his sleep, right? Juju gets heavily targeted. The Raiders actually were bringing a lot of good pressure last week. I was very impressed with that. We're bad, but I think I think the Raiders are probably going to slow down the running game a little bit, but I think it's a low-scoring game. I think this game, the Steelers aren't going to score a ton of points. They're going to be fairly conservative in offense. So maybe they do lean on Harris. If they get a lead, maybe they just keep running even if he's not efficient. So Landry probably sees more targets. We talked about Jamal Williams earlier. I mean, they ran 92 plays last week, so that accounts for a lot of those almost 20 touches he had. But if that play volume has dropped, and I don't know if Jamal Williams takes good advantage of what Green Bay's weak against. Now, the line of the Lions is very good. I'm almost feeling Landry here because the Texans are so bad. Landry could make a big play, and we know he's not always a big play guy, but I feel best about Landry. I feel he has an equivalent floor to the 3, but I feel like in this particular matchup, even if he has 6 targets, he can really make some damage happen because they don't have anybody. And Houston is going to they're going to have to be so concerned with the running game. We're going to see 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, just like we did last week, but even more this week because they're going to probably control this game. But again, they're going to throw some, and Landry is the guy with Odell out. So I'm going to say Landry here. Johnny, let's see, better Super Bowl. Oh man, I tell you, Flacco cashed in better. He got the better contract out of it. He made more money out of his. He parlayed a career out of that one. But you know what? It's funny. If you ask me who I remember as Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, I would almost forget that Flacco won one. Probably Jamal Williams won, Jamal Lewis won that one. Yeah, I'm saying Nick Foles. I like it. Randy, good to see you, man. Brian Edwards or MVS, non-PPR, and the rest of the schedule. Need to drop one for a kicker. Oh, kickers, ugh. You know what? All right, so I was saying this on the Sirius show last week. I get Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I get it. He had like 5 zeros last year. That's not going away. Zeros don't go away. Now, Edwards had a 0 until the 4th quarter until they finally figured, we got a good receiver. Let's throw him the ball. And then as soon as they threw him the ball, we saw what this dude can do. The dude is an ex-receiver in the NFL. And if they want to throw Darren Waller the ball 45 times a game, I guess he's not going to get work. But at some point, Gruden's have to figure out, we got other players. We got to involve them. We have good players. Edwards is a good player. Too many zeros from Marquez Valdes-Scantling in an established offense with an established quarterback. So this week and rest of schedule, I'm going Brian Edwards. And Pittsburgh's not a good secondary. And they're going to have to throw. And Edwards is the guy that gets open early. He could get open in the short area, and that's what they're going to need to attack. So now Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I'm thinking about putting a bet on him as a touchdown scorer this week because I could see against Detroit him getting behind the defense for a long touchdown. And that can't happen. But you can easily get nothing out of him. So Edwards has a better floor. They both have similar ceilings, although, MVS can get that 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, but I'm not convinced that Edwards can't. I'm saying Edwards both. Good question. Scott, Yeah, I do. I think Rager's their slot guy right now. Now I pulled the numbers up. He had a decent number of slot snaps last week. Let me just pull this up. I was very impressed with their usage of him, and it was a good number of slot snaps. I'll tell you exactly what it was. So Rager played 22 slot snaps. Actually, Quez Watkins played 23, but Rager played 70% of the snaps, so I was happy with that. And, the 49ers are down both corners. Brett's on IR and Emmanuel Mosley's out, and they really didn't have a lot of depth to start. So, and I think they're going to get the ball in Rager's hands, and they're going to trail some, so I think that's going to help. And so, I think Rager is a significant part of the passing game, as is Devontae Smith. But I think that they showed last week they threw 6 targets to Rager. I think that was pretty impressive, and that was in a blowout win. So I think they're going to have to throw him similar targets this week. So I think he definitely would be. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, keep going on here. All right, where am I at? All right, let's see. Fantasy Fanatics, Mooney. I'm going to answer these a little quicker. We're getting near the end of the hour, and I'm going to eat before kickoff today. Mooney or Tim Patrick? Mooney was like 100% player last week, and Darnell Mooney has a very, very favorable matchup. I do believe that he is going to be a very high-level player in this league, and I think it's as early as this year. Patrick's going to play less snaps, and he has other guys that are too many other guys that are ahead of him. We have Fant ahead of him. We have Sutton ahead of him. And I think where Mooney just has A-Rob ahead of him. And so I think Mooney's the play this week. I definitely like Mooney here. Conan, good to see you. And Eckler, Robinson, Mitchell, or Cooks, one can't play. To me, Cooks is an alpha. They lined him up in the slot 43 as well, 43 times last week, which is huge. They get him open. Mitchell, to me, I loved him before the NFL draft. I talked him up, and then he got drafted, and he was third string, but now he got his opportunity. I think Mitchell is a guy who his athletic profile says superstar. I was stunned he was drafted the 6th round. That blew me away. I thought he was for sure a 3rd-round pick, and he got his opportunity. He may not turn back. So I think Mitchell is in a great – so that I know Philly's tough against the run. That system that just churns out results. And Eckler, I don't think you could bench Austin Eckler. I know he didn't see a single target last week, but it's Robinson's the odd guy out here. They have a bad matchup here. He'll see some targets, but again, he ceded too much work to Carlos Hyde last week, and ultimately the other 3 guys are going to be primary on their team. So I think I set Robinson for that reason. Scott, let's see, Landry and Rager. So again, you're going to see a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets from the Browns. The only receiver when they have one receiver on the field is going to be Landry. Most of the time, unless they put Schwartz in for a deep shot, which they did that once or twice last week. But Landry is going to be the guy they're going to throw. If the game script works out and they win, they're throwing 18 to 24 times. But I think Landry gets 6 to 8 of those targets. Whereas Rager, game script dependent. Jalen Hurts is also scattershot when his passing. We know Mayfield off of play action, he's deadly accurate. And so Landry's going to, see better passes, whereas Rager could be open and Hurts could miss him. But I think they're going to involve him, and I think he is explosive. And I like the fact that he had on 6 catches put up 49 yards. I think that was solid enough. But I think Landry's safer. I think Landry may not have the big play. Rager has a better chance of having a big play, and with both starting cornerbacks out for the 49ers, I think that's problematic for them. So I think Landry's your floor play, and Rager fair floor, but has a better chance of breaking the big play. But again, Houston's going to have to stop the run, so they're not going to have a safety back there. Not that Landry's a speed guy, but so I think Landry has the more secure role. And does Rager have more upside? Maybe equivalent, maybe more. Maybe he's bigger, more explosive, so that gives him that, and that's a potential that he has that Landry doesn't. But we've seen Landry make big plays. So I think they both are going to be involved in this game. Scott, excellent. Look forward to seeing you next week. Sean, Harris, or Cooper Kupp to me is going to be potentially a top 12 receiver this year. And they feature him in the offense. He had 10 of the 26 pass attempts thrown his way. And I've said this preseason. McVay schemes him open all day long. Through all the years past, green grass is always there for Cooper Kupp. And we saw it last week. It doesn't change. Cooper Kupp, to me, high floor, high ceiling. He is going to be a major asset this year. Best bets for DFS today. Oh, man. I'll pull up my app here and see what I got in there because I'm swimming right now. I don't remember to call them out. You know what? I'm going to go contrarian, and I hate him, but my logic is crazy on this one. I hate Matt Ryan. And whenever he has an easy game, he sucks. But whenever he has a tough game, he's great. And so this week against Tampa, where they seemingly have no chance, I'm stacking him and Ridley. I'm coming back with Mike Evans. And here, I'm telling you who my other one is. I got the wrong DraftKings app open. I'll tell you who else I got. I skinny stacked another game as well. I'll tell you who it is. Just give me a second here. That an entry. Here we go. I'll tell you who I got. All right. And then I went a little bit in that Seahawks game. I went in with Chris Carson and DK Metcalf, and then came back with A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown, I kind of did that game. So, yeah, I kind of like those. I think those are like some base plays. But I definitely like having exposure to the Atlanta, Tampa, and Tennessee, Seattle game. That's kind of what I like there. Payam. Oh, no, man. I do see YouTube questions. I have YouTube questions from Conan, from Scott. I see your question here. But I definitely have YouTube questions. I have Scott, I have Conan, so I don't understand why I'm not saying Randy, Tom McLaughlin, Johnny Football. Those are all YouTube questions. So I'm sorry, Payam, if I didn't see your question. If you can DM, you can tweet out a question to me, and I'll get you before kickoff. I promise. And I'm sorry if I didn't see it. Anybody that is on YouTube, if I didn't get your question because it didn't post, definitely you guys say tweet me at Jim Coventry NFL, and I'll get an answer before kickoff for you. We're at 11. I don't see any other questions. I got a couple quick ones. Let me get these quickly here for you. Randy, let's see. Your connection dropped. Brian Edwards. I went with Brian Edwards. I kind of explained, but I'm going to go on that one. And then Mitch. Do we have another final? Landry, Kirk, Corey Davis, Ronald Jones, and Fournette. Oh, man, having that duo from the Bucs is tough. I think the 3 to squeeze in. I think Landry, again, he's going to have a good floor of targets. Been with the loaded box. He's going to have some upside. Christian Kirk, he didn't play a ton of snaps because they were winning in blowout fashion. They didn't play a lot of 3 receiver sets, but he is featured in the slot. Love him. And the third one, you know what? I'm going to say Leonard Fournette because I think he is a thing there. Corey Davis is going to see a lot of attention this week from Bill Belichick, and I think that's going to be problematic for him. I think Davis has more upside than Fournette, maybe. But I think Fournette's a better play this week. Let's see here. Randy, non-PPR, Damian Harris, Javonte Williams, Mike Williams, or Jamar Chase. Damian Harris, it's a game they should control. And Ramondre Stevenson's inactive. So I think Damian Harris sees his share of work and goal line work. So I like him better than the rest. Mike Williams probably see a lot of Trevon Diggs. That worries me. He's a really good corner, playing exceptionally well. Overall for the season, I love Mike Williams. But I think non-PPR, I think Damian Harris is a safe guy with a requisite ceiling. Johnny, you know what? New England defense are going to be a better NFL defense than a fantasy defense. I think they're going to be able to slow teams down, but I don't know that they necessarily force the turnovers and the big plays that we're going to like to see. So I think that they're moderate. But when they play a good offense, I don't think they're going to have a lot of answers for good offenses. But when they're playing the little brothers of the AFC East, they'll be okay. Tom, Deontay, or Mike Williams. Deontay has that target floor. He's going to always see targets. They get the ball out quick. Ben loves looking his way. It's a primary read for him. And Mike Williams, like I said, I like him all season. I just was talking about that. But I think he's going to see a lot of Trevon Diggs. Keenan Allen plays in the slot, and Mike Williams is the guy they're going to be concerned with. So I think he sees Trevon Diggs. I think Justin Herbert will throw to him some, but I think he's going to feel it's much easier to throw to Eckler, because he didn't involve Eckler at all last week, and Keenan Allen. So I think Deontay Johnson's your guy there. Scott. Yeah, the Josh Sky betting form. Love it. Mace, would you pull Jefferson and have Cooks for Jamal? No, not at all. All target dogs. Jefferson had 10 targets. Robinson had 11 last week. Cooks is the alpha, plays in the slot a lot. Jamal Williams, remember this. The Lions ran 92 plays last week, so that boosted the running back numbers for both Swift and Williams. They're not running 92 plays in many games, so that's the one thing I want you to take away from that. James Robinson, RB2? Yeah, absolutely RB2. He 6 targets last week. He's going to see targets. He's going to cede work to Carlos Hyde, but he's an RB2 for sure. He gets volume. Volume is king at RB2. Amon, Fournette, Drake, or Higgins. To me, T. Higgins is a superstar. He missed 25% of the snaps because he had leg cramps because of the heat last week, but he's fine. To me, Higgins is always going to have a floor. He has a ceiling, and he has a quarterback that loves to get him the ball. So to me, it's going to be Higgins. Jose, MVS, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Deontay Harris. Tim Patrick. I would say Tim Patrick here. He'll likely see more targets than the rest. MVS did see a lot of targets with blowout loss. Tom, you're very welcome. All right, everybody, time for me to eat some lunch. Good luck to all of you in all of your games. I hope that they result in big victories. Please come back next week, and we will see everybody soon. Have a great day. Amon, you're very welcome.